was ever a time to try and explain what wrestling is all about in 2025, it could be the last week, because you can turn on any wrestling television show at any point. Sometimes you get bangers like we did on Raw. So I'll be the first to admit the SmackDown last week, I like the Rock stuff. We'll talk about it later. I've already talked about other videos. But SmackDown, I wouldn't call it boring, but it was kind of just there. Then we get, 3 days later, and Raw all of a sudden felt like we're building angles, we're talking about WrestleMania, we're changing titles, we're changing championships, and we really let into this idea, as the final boss had returned last week, that somebody is selling their soul to the man. Very excited, I can't wait. Now, if we are to believe the rumor mill that is going around, this is not a long-term plan. So how on earth all of a sudden you work that in, I don't know. But given everything that CM Punk started to say to Logan Paul, I'm starting to think there could be CM Punk, and so do you. A lot of people sent me messages. Now, I talked about this on Ups and Downs. Make sure you go and subscribe to What Culture Wrestling right now to watch basically my review/recap of the whole thing in the correct order too. And make sure you subscribe to me too. I appreciate it. But I don't want to say I struggle. That's way too strong of a word. It's getting a little bit difficult. I don't know. If WWE wants to use Logan Paul as a top guy, that's perfectly fine. They know their metrics. They know their numbers. They know what they're aiming for. But he is a controversial dude. And given that we've seen Drew and CM Punk, or basically CM Punk and Drew, CM Punk and Seth, CM Punk and Cody, and CM Punk and other people just tear lumps out of each other. And it's the same on AEW TV, and again, LA Knight's done it here, there too. So all of a sudden, Logan Knight getting these top battle promo skits, whatever you want to call them, and people not being able to call out the stuff that we all know. It's like watching some strange drama. There's a term for it, I can't remember the term now, but it's where we know the dramatic plot twist before we see the dramatic plot twist, but none of the characters are talking about the dramatic plot twist. And I get why WWE wouldn't want to talk about that. Some of the stuff that Logan Paul's involved with outside of the wrestling bubble are super controversial. But it seems mad that Logan Paul is allowed to say whatever he wants. Everyone else would be like, oh, bite my tongue, because I could, like I say, rip chunks out of you. But that's neither here or there. The point is, after he had ran down CM Punk's like, I don't care about you. I don't even know who you are. You're basically a walking ball of fluff. And you can go tell Cody, you can go tell anybody, the devil is coming to the Elimination Chamber and I'm going to be the guy that wins the championship. And I really, in the best way ever, I think WWE should be applauded for this. And it has helped with The Rock coming back and say all of this stuff. I don't know who was winning that match. Yesterday, I did predict John Cena. I think if WWE has planned for CM Punk versus Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes versus John Cena for the WWE title, there's no point changing track now. I think there's other things you can do, and if The Rock is going to be involved. But CM Punk maybe is too obvious as the choice, and maybe we will sort of go off in a different direction that we're not expecting right now. But CM Punk is mega over as a babyface, but that doesn't mean that he can't go heel, which is a weird thing to say. But because of the way that he operates, where he's always CM Punk, right? It depends who he's talking to, and it depends on sort of how much he insults the fan, I guess. But if CM Punk was all of a sudden feuding with the Cody Rhodes properly, and you decided to keep Cody Rhodes face, absolutely CM Punk could go heel without changing anything. He would just continue to speak the truth. And it would be something fascinating. It's the same with John Cena as well, just because of the names involved. But while The Rock isn't going to be on every show, if you knew that John Cena or CM Punk were there as a representative of Dwayne Johnson, the final boss, the member of the board, and wins a championship and runs wild a little bit, it's not a bad way to set up the rest of 2025. And I always go back to this. On some podcast last year, CM Punk was very skirting around the fact, and of course it could be done to make idiots like me talk about it, but being very much like, oh, you should see what's going to happen in 6 months' time, which just so happened to be WrestleMania season in terms of whether he's going to be a babyface, whether he's going to be a bad guy, or whatever he's going to do. And again, at the same time, WWE could decide The Rock's going to wait to make another movie. We're just going to drop all this dead, and it was just something to get us through a few beats of television. Everybody involved in the chamber, other than Damian Priest, Drew McIntyre, and Logan Paul, now seems to have been dragged into this. I mean, arguably not John Cena, because he hasn't been around, but the fact he's not there makes it so much easier, because he hasn't sort of given us an opinion either way. But we also had the promo between Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes. I thought that was the best thing on Raw. But that or the main event, the tag team match, was brilliant. But, Seth Rollins and Cody just went out there and did such a good job of laying out what The Rock was talking about. Essentially, Dwayne Johnson can, what's the word I'm even looking for? Give eternal success, like He-Man, to the Rhodes family, including his family and his friends and other people that are coming through the business that have the Rhodes name. Whereas Seth was like, dude, a year ago we were fighting off the bloodline. The Rock was getting in your face. Is the pressure of being the WWE champion leaning on you too much? And Cody was like, well, he didn't ask you, like children, didn't ask you to sell his soul, did you? Because you're already corrupted. You're on all these terrible things. And he listed all the awful things that Seth Rollins has done. And Seth was like, yes, I'm consumed by hate. I don't want you to be consumed by hate, proper Star Wars stuff. And this is what I mean, going back to the whole, if you're going to be a top guy promo or a top person promo in WWE these days, while they have characters and while they do have good guy and bad guy ramifications, they just talk. and they talk like they're buddies, they talk like they're friends, they talk like they have differences of opinions, but ultimately they understand that person exists within the WWE lore, and it makes it so good. And again, I use that word, when you are skirting around that stuff, you take away from it, but you could easily come up with a massive play where Seth Rollins is the dude that goes, haha, I have sold my soul, because we kind of laid that out there. Now, there wasn't any hints, but what I'm saying, he was so on the nose with it. Again, Drew McIntyre's not mentioned it, Damien Priest's not mentioned it, never do it with Logan Paul, I wouldn't be able to handle it. But if you wanted to sort of pull something out of left field, or you had a plan for down the line, or you're thinking about something for SummerSlam, you could do that too. But of all the people that got in touch with me, everyone thinks it's going to be CM Punk. Everybody thinks CM Punk will, but that means he has to win the title at WrestleMania. Then what happens to John Cena? I mean, do you now do the triple threat match that people were talking about too? But it really has lit a fire under all the predictions, which I love. I think fantasy booking in wrestling is one of the best things. And I suppose he doesn't have to win the championship at WrestleMania. Like, even if CM Punk doesn't win the chamber, you can still get to WrestleMania where we do Punk versus Rollins versus Roman, and it would be a great way to tell that story. CM Punk gets help via Paul Heyman, thanks to The Rock, however you want to do that. That's how he gets his victory, and eventually he goes into his big feud with Cody Rhodes, which WWE was going to do anyway, be it this year or in 2026. There's no way they're never going to do Cody Rhodes versus CM Punk. That would be mad. That would be totally bonkers. So of course it's going to be on the table at some point, and if you really want to keep Cody Rhodes babyface, which is probably the correct thing to do, then just giving CM Punk as much ammunition as possible, I think is totally fine. And you could even sort of maybe build a match between Roman Reigns and The Rock. That does seem to be the last in-ring action that The Rock is going to do, given what he said in that press conference after SmackDown last week. And if CM Punk does beat Roman Reigns, I mean, Seth Rollins would spin off elsewhere, I suppose. But if Roman Reigns is a victim of all of that because of Paul Heyman and because of The Rock, well, there's your interaction in order to maybe it's even at SummerSlam, right? I keep going on about hot WrestleMania. It is 2 nights, and if on the Sunday night it's going to be The Rock versus Roman Reigns, I can't see that just because The Rock has so many film projects right now. If he can't do it in 2 months or a month's time, whenever the Flub WrestleMania is, sorry, in 6 months' time, he's going to be even busier. I don't know. But you could plant those seeds. And again, The Rock said maybe things aren't going to end in matches. So maybe our big The Rock versus Roman Reigns match, they're going to be doing a big promo off in the middle of the ring as fans go on the internet go, cinema aura. But CM Punk has certainly been attached to this person that could play this role. He certainly lent into it on this Raw. And I liked everything he did with Logan Paul. CM Punk is just great with a microphone, right? But it was a little bit disappointing to, I'm going to keep you the word, it's the best word, to allegedly and speculate and maybe, who knows, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, not being able to go full CM Punk. And I think you should always let CM Punk go full CM Punk. That's why I like the Seth Rollins, Cody Rhodes stuff so much, because they just laid into each other and they have that mutual respect, but they're also worried about the other person turning to the dark side. It's fantastic as they hit the table for no reason. Nobody needs that. And I think it's a huge part of why this Raw was so good, because we came out of the Cody stuff, we went right into that main event. I think that was it. I don't think there was anything else. Maybe I'm getting that wrong. But man, Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez versus Naomi and Bianca Belair. I've been saying this for a while. You can't change my mind. Got the Raw tag belts, got the SmackDown tag belts. Amazingly, hell is frozen over. The women tag team belts are in a way better position than those two. Like the War Raiders versus the Creeds is good, but it feels a little bit lackluster in terms of story. I love the fact that the Street Profits and DIY and the Machine Guns and Pretty Deadly are fighting over the SmackDown ones. But once again, the narrative doesn't really tie together. Whereas here, you've got all the stuff with Jade, you've got all the stuff with the Judgment Day, Liv Morgan and Raquel, I don't know, there's something about them as a team, and obviously Bianca Belair and Naomi, they have legacy by this point because they've been together so long, and they've been the best of buddies, and it was also such a good match. Even all the interference, which WWE does overdo on occasion, with Dominic Mysterio, he's just so good at being a massive penis. And when, I think it was after the double KOD, I can't remember, but when he put Liv Morgan's foot on the rope at the 1-2, ooh, it was tremendous, and people were so mad. And on some of those near falls, when they got to cooking, the fans bought every single one. And the first time Dominic came out, I think Raquel threw Naomi out the ring, and then it could be the other way around. Liv Morgan hit the Oblivion on someone. It was Bianca, because Bianca Belair broke up at the last second. I bought that one too, and I think it absolutely was the right decision to change these titles. It's now kind of made me think I was wrong yesterday. Make sure you check out my Elimination Chambers predictions video. I think Bianca Belair could win, and I think now the 3-way at WrestleMania, maybe Io Sky versus Bianca versus Rhea Ripley, which could be the match of the weekend if you do that right. Whereas I just think if Liv Morgan is going to go into a big tag team title program, which it feels like, defend them on WrestleMania. These things have momentum, and these things have some energy in their bones at the moment. And if they're not defended at WrestleMania, I think you take away from that. And also, we don't need to go back to Liv Morgan versus Rhea Ripley. And Liv Morgan, wonderfully, this is a template for all wrestling companies or anything in life, had a great 2024, loses to Rhea Ripley, but hasn't lost any of her steam because we had a plan and we had a story. And Raquel Rodriguez is just a brilliant tag team wrestler. I'm not saying she can't be a brilliant singles wrestler too, but anytime she properly shines, it's in a tag team environment. So this was awesome. We have now sort of created a position where Bianca Belair and Naomi could potentially break up once we found out what happened to Jade Cargill. They don't have those belts kind of keeping them on a certain path at the moment. Just really good. It can't have been more than 15 minutes, I don't think. But if you have the time today, I would go and check it out. Even if you watch it on 2-speed, that's an option. But really well worked. They just started fighting right away because, of course, Liv and Raquel had jumped Bianca and Naomi on SmackDown. So it was toit, as they say. The story was there. The work was there. The match was there. I just loved it. It was really good. A superb main event. And that kind of just ran throughout the show. Like the Gunther Jey Uso stuff. Jey Uso was barely on Raw, but it was still good. Because Gunther now is just walking around going, don't like you, you're a clown. And he picks on Tozawa because he's like, we both came from foreign lands. We both got in the best shape of our lives. I became a champion. You became an idiot. I'm going to beat your ass. And Tozawa's like, you can't talk to that like me. And they wrestled for 3 minutes? But some of the reversals and that surprise roll-up, most devastating move in all of sports entertainment was, he was never going to win. And even the fact that Gunther had it won but still decided to choke him out, it makes Gunther a big an asshole and it makes Tozawa even more sympathetic. I'm hoping at some point, let's not forget as well, Gunther started this when they were doing TikTok dances, the Afro Academy are the greatest group of all time. But you do have the seeds. Like, people will take Ota seriously, and he obviously stood up to Gunther before he got attacked at the end of this. But people like them so much they'll kind of go on whatever journey you want them to. So you can absolutely make Tozawa serious at some point or put him in a proper program with someone, and after a while people would be fine with it. I imagine Jey Uso comes out to make the save. I presume this also means we're going to do Gunther versus Otis. Perfectly fine with that. But the real secret sauce is that there is still 8 weeks or whatever it is until WrestleMania. Now we can involve these people. Jey Uso fell out with Grayson Waller. You can do that match. They're still operating in each other's spaces, but we now have ways to veer away from it before we can come back, probably around about the end of March, early April, or maybe even sooner if you want to do that. I'm sure there'll be one episode where Gunther absolutely bludgeons Jey Uso. He also called it a yeet circus, which I thought was tremendous. Gunther right now is just on fire. I understand that Jey Uso has a contingent of people that think this is a mistake. I think you're crazy. You're allowed to be crazy. You're allowed to have crazy thoughts. You probably think I have crazy thoughts too. But he's just so over and he gets such a big reaction. I keep repeating myself, but I don't want to go back to a world where people that get over organically aren't put into these positions because it sucked. The one I always go back to is Rusev Day. Who the flub knows where we'd be today if we had just gone with Rusev Day? But no, as Vince McMahon said to Rusev or Miro, this seems like it's been confirmed by many people, they're just was it humiliating you or patronizing you? Who the flub cares? Even that is true, which it wasn't. You're selling a bunch of t-shirts, go with it. And we didn't do it. So anyway, a pump for Gunther versus Jey Uso. We talked about Cody versus Seth. Obviously, this time next week, we will maybe know who Cody is fighting at WrestleMania. Still think it's going to be John Cena. And we have thrown another person into this Intercontinental title mix. I am starting to think that now WrestleMania could be Logan Paul versus Bron Breakker versus AJ Styles versus Finn Balor. Because they're all operating each other's spaces. Even though Logan Paul hadn't tracked down AJ Styles since the Royal Rumble, which is when I made that prediction, it would be those two. All of a sudden, he's getting his face again. Finn Balor has fallen out with Bron Breakker. AJ Styles has fallen out with Bron Breakker. After the Elimination Chamber, again, we've got some good few weeks. Logan Paul get into that mix as well. And WWE quite clearly wants to feature him in a top-tier position. And the IC Championship is that. Bron Breakker versus Dominic Mysterio, even though it ended in a DQ. Carlito was great. Finn Balor was great. Obviously, the Judgment Day are going to break up soon, or at least get a new member, so they'll shift into being a slightly different group. It sounds like Finn Balor is going to go back to being the Demon. We keep teasing all this stuff in the background. It's just good stuff, and it's just so watchable. And because we didn't overdo the disqualification stuff or the shenanigans, it hits harder, and you can see where it makes sense, which is the same for Lyra Valkyria versus Dakota Kai. Just went out there and had a great Intercontinental title match. The Ivy Nile stuff is stupid because she lost the number one contenders match, so she attacks here and now is going to get an IC title match. But I think right now, given that championship's been a bit rickety-rockety, it should just be more about how do we get this back on track. contract, right? And Ivy Nile is someone that should be doing it. Dakota Kai should be somebody who's doing it. A live Valkyria, I get Becky Lynch back in there when she comes back because she has the star power. I don't think she needs to be in the world title scene right now. But that is steps in the right direction. Live Valkyria is really good. She hit this superplex or this stalling superplex out of the corner. Fans just loved it because of the way she approached it and the way she delivered it. So that was really, really good. Again, Ivy Nile stuff is hilarious, but it's wrestling. You can get away with it. And the New Day versus the LWO. I mean, even though the LWO come out, this is no disrespect to them, I kind of forgot that the other two existed. They were in the match, so they were always going to lose, and the New Day cheated. I do like it, because I just love Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods so much, but I really hope once we do the Creeds versus the War Raiders, which we're doing on next week's episode of Raw, and we're doing Rhea Ripley versus Io Sky, they only had a mini conversation here. I thought we could have done more with that, but it was quite a stacked show, so maybe there was no time. But I really hope, again, outside of that match, that it's the New Day versus the War Raiders leading into WrestleMania. We give those titles to New Day. We kind of heat them up a little bit more after that awesome heel turn, and then we can move on from there, because they still do have the boos. People do not like them. They're kind of just jumping here, there, and everywhere at the moment. I think we can do more. But at least they're on the books, right? And the War Raiders have to do something after the Creeds. I don't think you can give the belts to the Creeds right now. I think that would be crazy. I don't think you should give the IC Championship to Ivy Nile either, but making sure these people are factor in is way better than not factoring them. And we had Penta versus Pete Dunne versus Ludwig Kaiser, and Ludwig Kaiser won, and Ludwig Kaiser never wins, so that was cool too. We protected Penta, and we essentially protected Pete Dunne too. Everyone got protected, because everyone was basically being hit with finishing moves as the triple threat curse. The only thing with this is, I don't really know what we're doing with it. It feels like something should be for a championship, but my gosh, we don't need any more titles. But now that somebody has won it, even with sort of shenanigans-esque means, I don't know, we have to let it see it play out, but they're just so good. And Ludwig Kaiser is so hated. Pete Dunne is just underrated in terms of what he can do. And Penta is treated like a superhero. So it's not like this doesn't have worth or weight to it, it does. And it lights up a show. It's just when you look forward to WrestleMania, they be involved in an Intercontinental title match? I mean, they can't be. It's 7 people, which would be way too much. I don't want a ladder match or anything like that. I mean, I'm sure there'll be one on the show because modern day wrestling can't help it. But I just thought Raw was so easy to watch. We planted enough seeds, so, you know, if you're going to wait until after Elimination Chamber, there's a reason to come back. Obviously, that pay-per-view PLE itself will have its own ammunition. And finishing with the championship win, and just telling you these belts mean something. Tremendous stuff. Really, really good. Really, really into it. And it's a long old time from the Elimination Chamber to WrestleMania. Longer than usual, just because that's why everything got pushed back this year. Rumble's in February, obviously, the EC show coming up this weekend. And then WrestleMania's not until the 18th, 19th. Like, they re-announced the New Orleans dates for 42, and that's kind of come back earlier in April. So I don't know whether that's something they've decided to do, or they think this one is a mistake or whatever. But within that period, you're going to be able to make or break a lot of feuds, because you don't want to peak too soon. And we've seen that happen many a time before. But I also think there is a lot to kind of underline. There's so many people, I have no idea where they fit. I mean, again, while we've made speculations, Logan Paul, Finn Balor, AJ Styles, Bron Breakker, you've got Damian Priest, you've got Drew McIntyre. I don't think either of them is going to win the Elimination Chamber. You have Jimmy Uso. I mean, again, you have Penta, Ludwig Kaiser, Pete Dunne. All of these guys. Maybe some people are going to miss the show of shows because the roster is so stacked. But this was a great Raw to tell you, be excited about WrestleMania. Be excited about the Elimination Chamber. We do have plans. Even if he throws a curveball like the Rock stuff, we'll make sure we make that work too. Cody being on Raw was great as well. Maybe something we want to look into. I mean, it's kind of difficult because Gunther is there as well. Why we should only have one world champion, but I've talked about that 1,000 times before, so let's not go back to it. And I just thought Seth Rollins was great here as well. Even though he still comes out in his goofy clothes, Seth Rollins, as a serious character, when he's talking to people he knows and he has the history to lean on, he's up there with anybody else, right? And WWE is lucky to have him. So just great. Just really, really good. And I don't really think there was any dumb stuff on this. I like the dumb stuff, but some people don't after we saw the reaction, especially that R-Truth match from SmackDown. People melted down. I shouldn't laugh, but I absolutely do. And I want to see where all of this is going to go. I think we're going to have a lot of talking points come this Monday this Sunday, I should say, after the Elimination Chamber. And I'm pumped. I'm really, really pumped. I'm excited. I want to see what people are going to do. But more importantly, I want to know what you think. So drop me a comment below. When you are down there, please do like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Check out What Culture Wrestling as well. Click the video on the screen. which are my awful Elimination Chamber predictions. I'm so bad at this, somebody should shoot me out of a cannon. And if you're into your fitness supplements, please go to gorillamind.com/Simon. At the moment, if you get Gorilla Mind in the rainbow flavor, I can't remember what it's called, jungle juice, sorry, not rainbow, you get 30% off and it ships worldwide. I mean this from the bottom of my tum-tum. I take it before wrestling and I take it before going to the gym. It's the best pre-workout ever. And also, I did defend my Progress Pros title for the 5th time this Sunday, so you can check that out on Demand Progress or Triller. You can laugh at me how bad I am at wrestling. Totally fine. That's your choice. And you get my done t-shirts as well at prowrestlingtees.com/Simon Miller. Come follow me on social media at SimonMiller316. Come get a cameo. Come see me on TikTok. And I think that's just about everything. More importantly, I appreciate you, my friends. Also, do drop me a comment. Let me know, is CM Punk going to team up with The Rock? And what does that do to your life? Imagine I told you that even a year ago. It would have blown your minds. I love you, and I'll see you soon.